usually on a yearly basis, to satisfy cyclical profit cycles for companies that in turn pay wages for labour. Those products must be made in the cheapest way possible from the cheapest possible materials in relation to their marketed cost to the consumer. And of course, products produced within the monetary system must wear out, break down, require servicing, or become technologically or operationally obsolete within the time frame the company can economically endure before repeat business is required from the consumers. In 2004, it was estimated that 15 million mobiles are replaced annually, with owners updating them on average every 18 months. Updating is a nice word there. It means throwing one in the garbage and buying another one. In the time immediately following Christmas, it was estimated that 750,000 phones were dumped by consumers. Can you imagine what that figure might be today, 6 years later? This type of market behaviour is called planned obsolescence, and it's been the primary mover of this infinite growth paradigm since the end of the Second World War. Companies like Apple need you to spend more and over and over and over again on similar or derivative products every year. Hence, we have multiple iPhones, iPods, iPads, iBoards, and iMacs. This in turn means that all goods produced in a monetary system can only last as long as that company can endure it before a further or repeat sale needs to be made. The effect of this waste is waste, inefficiency, and incompatibility, and a general disrespect and lackadaisical attitude to what we have come to perceive as throwaway consumerism. This value program orientates members of society to disregard the importance of resources. We train ourselves not to see the vast implications, while somehow entertaining the notion that we are more free by consuming more and more. It translates to a form of aspirational buying, or keeping up with the Joneses. As fashion and style creep into the perceived values of the products in question. Adverts such as, there was one with a tagline that said, "Are you ashamed of your old mobile phone?" Do you remember that one? As though shame has any relevance to the benefits of mobile communications technology. It struck me as vastly incredible that people think about it that way. And in fact, on a related note, I had the misfortune, of course, of being in the Apple store on Regent Street on the 27th, I think it was, when they were giving out the new iPad. I was just there to buy yet another lead that I need because things aren't compatible. And they were clapping and cheering each new iPad customer as they walked in the door. Just screaming like they were at a football match. It is absolutely remarkable that we've put so much value into it. I often think to myself, wouldn't it be wonderful if we felt that thrilled about advances in technology? The people in the streets were clapping and yelling, going, "Yeah, did you hear? We've got 20% better water efficiency." And while we're at this point, it is literally impossible to offer the best products at the lowest possible price. It's another advertising slogan that ignores the actual mechanisms that govern production and sale of any product in a competitive marketplace. Were Sony Ericsson to offer a truly robust, solid, upgrade flexible phone that was long-lasting, feature accommodating, environmentally safe, recyclable as possible, and with a lifespan of as many years as technology allows at that point, it would be a necessary consequence of competition and market share hunting that another company will come along and make a slightly inferior phone for a slightly lower price in hope to catch that market share. This spiral then continues and branches out into multiple similarly produced items with decreasing lifespans and suboptimal technologies for the sake of market share to begin with. This competition that we're trained to prize so highly also produces another kind of waste. Thousands of different versions of the same thing will spring up, duplicating the amount of resources we burn and use up on every imaginable product that we can be sold. It is by definition the most unsustainable method of production that there is. Even worse, we produce tons of products that aren't even necessary, simply so earnings can be made, because we now rely on money to begin with. Go into a pound shop or even Tesco's and count the amount of items that are absolutely necessary to the operational function of your life. It's less than 10% of the items, okay, if you ignore food. We're killing food anyway. Vast, vast aisles of bleach. It's like, well, if you need bleach, just have bleach. You don't need to have all this duplication. And while we're on buying and selling, the next ramification of a monetary system, of course, includes the future of employment. Technological unemployment, which is unemployment caused by the use of machines as vehicles of labour, has continually and systematically forced relevant numbers of people out of every emerging sector for the past 100 years. In the words of Nobel laureate economist Vassily Leontiev, the role of humans as the most important factor of production is bound to diminish in the same way that the role of horses in agricultural production was first diminished and then eliminated by the introduction of tractors. Our current economic employment market is basically broken down into three sectors: agricultural, mining and fishing, things like that; manufacturing, which is tangible goods; and service, which is intangible goods. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead, aren't I? Let's go back. There we go. Sorry about that. As near universal social progression, all societies tend to follow the developmental path which takes them from reliance on agriculture and extraction towards the development of manufacturing, such as automobiles, textiles, shipbuilding, steel, and finally towards the more service-based structure. Naturally, the only reason some countries are farther behind the process than others has to do with the affordability of the technology required to move to the next level. Irrespective of its social system or political disposition, it's simply a scientific progression. So let's now consider this phenomenon using the United States as a proxy. In 1860, 60% of Americans worked in the agricultural sector. However, today, due to the advancement of machinery and automation, less than 1% do. Fortunately, those technological developments also gave rise to the emerging Industrial Revolution, and by 1950, 33% of Americans were employed in the factory-based manufacturing sector. As of now, the continual advancements in machine automation is less than 8%. So, considering that only about 9% of Americans work in agricultural or manufacturing sectors now, where did everyone else go? Well, if you went to Z-Day, or if you've had a look at a fascinating book by Jeremy Rifkin called The End of Work, which is where a lot of these numbers come from, they all went to the service sector. There we go. The only thing that has served the US labour market, and in fact our labour market, is exactly the same over here, after the technological renovation of agricultural and then manufacturing sectors, is the flight to the service industry. From 1950 to 2002, in the service sector, the employment went from 59% to 82%. The service sector is the dominant employer of pretty much the world today, actually, with you know, all other industrial countries. Of course, this begs the question: is this sector susceptible to the wrath of technological unemployment as well? Well, of course, it's not insusceptible. With the advent of increasing versatile computer technologies, which I'm sure you're all very much better versed in than I am, we're seeing job displacement once again, this time in all service industries. The replacement of tellers and cashiers with kiosks, the use of automated voice systems for phone calls, even the internet has redefined retail, not to mention full kiosk systems in physical marketplaces, advanced food prep by machines, even research by automation is being done, from statistical modelling to lab experiments. As economist Stephen Roach has warned, the service sector has lost its role as America's unbridled engine of job creation. As a unique example, in Germany, the first fully automated restaurant is in operation. In fact, it's old news now. This came about, I think it was at the end of 2008, certainly by 2009 it had been going very well. It uses kiosks for order and payment, and the food is then served by fully mechanized systems. There are 0 wait staff. There is no reason this and more could not be done with every single eating establishment in the world. In fact, if one were to think creatively about the application of technology as it currently exists to the entire service sector, you could probably wipe out most of the jobs overnight. The only reason it hasn't been done is because the focus of society is backwards when it comes to social progress. To illustrate this more, let's stop thinking about technology in terms of employment for a moment and consider it from the angle of productivity. The most incredible relationship of all is that the more technological unemployment increases, the more productive things become. In the G7 advanced industrialized countries, employment in manufacturing has been dropping, but manufacturing output has been rising. Here's the chart. You can see it's a practically inverse correlation. There's a wonderful quote from Bruce Bartlett. He said, "The truth is that US manufacturing is doing quite well in every aspect except in the number of people it employs. Furthermore, the economists would judge the health or sickness of any industry based solely on employment. Few would base it on employment. By that standard, agriculture has been the sickest industry of all for decades because employment has declined, although farm productivity rose dramatically in the past century. Industrial health is better measured by output, productivity, profitability, and wages." Unfortunately, this person is forgetting one universal thing. If human labourers are displaced, they cannot obtain purchasing power. If they cannot obtain purchasing power, they cannot fuel the economy by consumption, so on that level, it doesn't matter how productive we are, no one will be able to buy anything. This phenomenon